Welcome to Everything You Need to Know About the Ascension of Humanity, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern science and spiritual evolution gets real. I'm Heather, an energy healer, channel, and spiritual coach with Divine Ascension Company. Each week, we're diving deep into the mysteries of human consciousness, spiritual awakening, and the profound transformation happening within us and around us. But here's the thing. We're not doing this with our heads in the clouds. We're bringing neuroscience, psychology, quantum physics, and cutting-edge research to the table alongside meditation, energy work, and timeless spiritual teachings. Because the truth is, the ascension of humanity isn't some far-off cosmic event. It's happening right now in the choices we make, the awareness we cultivate, and the healing we do within ourselves. Whether you're curious about how mindfulness literally rewires your brain, why shadow work is backed by depth psychology, or what coherence between your heart and mind actually means scientifically, you're in the right place. We'll explore practices like breathwork, meditation, and emotional alchemy, not as abstract concepts, but as tangible tools grounded in both spiritual wisdom and scientific understanding. And here's where it gets even better. In our bonus episodes, you'll hear from real people sharing real stories. These are the warriors, the healers, the everyday seekers who've walked through their own darkness and found their light. They'll share their breakthroughs, their struggles, and the resources that actually helped them along the way. Because personal growth isn't a solo journey, and you deserve to know you're not alone. So whether you're just beginning to question the nature of reality, or you're deep in your spiritual practice, this podcast is your companion on the path. It's time to expand, to awaken, and to rise together. Let's begin. Hey, it's Heather. Today's conversation is one I've been excited to share with you. I sat down with Evidential Medium Stacey, and we went deep. We're talking about the stuff people don't usually say out loud. Childhood trauma, missing memories, why the body takes forever to catch up with spiritual growth, how to actually talk about death and grief without everyone shutting down. Stacey shares her journey from crippling panic attacks to discovering her gifts as a medium, and we both get real about imposter syndrome, the weight of helping others when you're still healing yourself, and why the universe sometimes sends you signs in the form of exploding candles. This is a vulnerable, honest conversation between two people doing the work, and I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Let's dive in. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we have a very special guest named Stacey. She and I actually have quite a bit in common. I'm really excited for you to hear her story and let her share some of her insights with you. Stacey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Heather. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Awesome. In this beautiful Washington weather.
Ooh, well, I'm in Pennsylvania. We've got some cold, but probably not near what you have.
That's interesting. I just moved here from Pennsylvania. What part?
I'm in Chambersburg, so I'm very close to Gettysburg.
Awesome. I lived right outside of Hershey, Harrisburg area.
Oh, okay. We weren't too far.
No, no, awesome. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Okay. Well, like Heather said, my name is Stacey Niedentohl, and I am an evidential medium, a spiritual translator, an author of two books, My Head Knows But My Heart Still Hurts, and The Crystal Addiction Diary. I facilitate women's retreats and mentor students into opening up to their own empowerment. It's all things spiritual. I like to concentrate on, helping to heal the world one person at a time. And that tends to make that spiritual awakening happen.
Yeah, I
So that's kind of my title in a short version.
agree. So let me ask you a quick question before you go on. You said an evidential medium. So for the listeners who might not know, we've talked about mediumship before and how you connect with spirits on the other side, but what's an evidential medium? What's the difference?
So an evidential medium, it's kind of a buzzword right now to put evidential in front of it because there are a lot of mediums out in the world. There are very good ones and there are very bad ones. And the way to kind of hone in is if you see someone who is a certified medium or a certified evidential medium. An evidential medium gives you evidence. So I may not just, if I am doing a reading for someone, I'm not just going to say, um, depending on your age, in my head, you probably have a grandmother who has passed. I've got a grandmother figure here who is here. Would you understand that? Oh, she was a lovely lady. She loved you very much. And she wants you to know that she's okay. Reading over. What an evidential medium does is I'm going to give you pieces of evidence so that we know exactly who we're speaking to. So, what I might say is, I have a woman here. She feels like she's higher than a mother figure, and she feels like she's on your mom's side. So, I'm going to feel as if she's a grandmother figure to you. I feel as if she had an issue with the heart, and I have a flutter, which lets me know that probably there was some type of fluid buildup in the heart or congestive heart failure. And she's telling me that the month of February is very important to her. So that's either a birth date or a death date. Would you understand a grandmother who has passed away with an issue of the heart and February being important?
Mm-hmm.
And if that resonates with you, then I will continue. If you say, nah, I don't understand that, I'll go back to spirit and say, give me more. Oh, she says her name is Ethel. Oh my God, my great grandmother's name was Ethel, and I believe she did have a heart issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give you pieces of evidence about the person that's coming in so that we know that we have who we have.
That makes
If
sense.
you've ever gone to like a gallery reading for some of the more popular mediums, there are people who go in there who will hijack readings. And the medium will say, I have this and I have this and I have this, and somebody raises their hand and says, oh, that was my uncle. Well, no, this is feminine. No, my uncle was very feminine. And
Right.
all of a sudden, if the medium isn't versed enough to say, I'm not with you, I'm very sorry about your uncle, but I have a woman here who is this and this and this, and I'm on this side. If you've ever watched John Edwards, he's very good at saying, it's not you, stop, I'm over here. But there are some mediums that will just go, oh, okay, so this was your uncle. Okay. And he was very feminine. Yes. And he had a heart issue. Well, no, he didn't have a heart issue. He had asthma. Oh, okay. Well, asthma can make the heart kind of flutter. So that's not evidence.
Right. You're kind of making the
That's
reading match the
just
person instead of the other way
correct.
around. Yeah.
Correct. So that's where the evidential medium differs from a medium. Not saying that a medium doesn't give evidence, but it's just very much a buzzword right now, evidential medium.
Gotcha. So what got you into all of this stuff? How did you get started?
Um, Probably about uh 12 to 15 years ago, I was having severe panic attacks and anxiety, and I felt like my throat was closing up and I couldn't walk downtown Gettysburg because I felt like something was flying past me. Ticking clocks I couldn't have in my house because it felt like the room was closing in. I literally would sit on the floor between my husband's legs and he would put his hands on my shoulders because I felt like I was leaving my body. And I thought I was going crazy. I
Wow.
literally went to the doctor because I thought I was schizophrenic. I mean, I'm seeing, feeling, and hearing stuff.
Right.
And I did counseling, and there were some things that I needed to work through that I thought that I had, but it didn't really stop it.
Hmm.
And my mother got sick in April, and she passed in June. And what I realized was the time that she was ill, I was so laser focused on her care, I wasn't having panic attacks. I wasn't, none of this stuff was happening. And after she passed, a friend of mine got a hold of me who lives 2 hours away and said she had a medium coming to her house. Did I want to join this small group? There were only going to be 5 people there. And I was like, absolutely, I want to be there. And my husband was not for it at all. He was like, no. Mm-mm. And I thought, well, I love you, but yes, I'm going. And I went there And this medium brought my mother through just clear as a bell, and I could take everything she said except for one thing. And after the reading was over, she asked if she could see me. She could talk to me. And I thought, oh my God, I'm in trouble with the woo woo woman. My husband was right. I got involved with this. Oh my God. And when she pulled me to the side, she started explaining my panic attacks and
Wow.
my anxiety attacks and how ticking clocks bothered me. And I was like, oh, oh my God, yes. So she told me that spirit was tapping on my shoulder and they had a very big job for me to do. And I either needed to open up or shut it down. Otherwise, they were going to make me crazy.
Wow.
So when I came home and was talking to my husband about what was said, and I said I could take everything that this woman said, and I was telling him. And, there was somebody there that was writing things down. So, he saw that. I said, the only thing I didn't know was she keeps saying number one, number one. And my husband's mouth just dropped. So I knew Jeff knew what that meant. So I said, okay, tell me. He said, don't you remember when your sister got married? I pulled your mom to the side and said, yes, you're getting another son-in-law, but I'm number one. And she would call the house and she would ask for number one. And if he would go into my parents' house, she'd say, there's my number one.
That's
So my mom figured out a way to give a message through me to him to let him know this was not caca.
right.
And as I thought about it, I mean, I was born and raised in the church. So, of course, the illusions of a medium to the church is wrong.
Hmm.
And I had a long conversation with God and basically said, look, if this is what you want me to do, you need to put people in my path that I can't miss and show me signs. And things just started happening. I met a man who was 90 miles away from us at a bike show that we bought his booth and he wanted his tables back. And we said, well, you're just going to have to hang out. And he goes, oh, I live a ways away. Well, where do you live? He lives like 5 miles down the road from us.
Oh, wow.
Coincidence number one, right? Coincidence?
No, I don't
He
think
came
so.
to pick up exactly. He came to pick up the tables and he looked at me and he said, you need to talk to my sister. And I'm like, why? And he goes, I feel like you need to talk to her. And I said, well, here's my number. You can have her call me. I don't call people I don't know. So she called me a couple of days later and she's like, look, my brother told me to call. I don't know why I'm calling. Now she's in Colorado. And she said, what do you do for a living? So I told her about Hip Gypsy Emporium, our shop. And she said, nope, that's not it. So I thought, well, I'll play your silly game. What do you do? Well, she does whole being alignments. So what that basically does is it disconnects past memories from past lives that we carry with us and helps you to release those things. And I was like, oh, maybe I know. So she was coming from Colorado to Hagerstown, Maryland the following week. Hagerstown, Maryland is like 20 miles from me.
Hmm.
So we met. She did a whole being alignment on both my husband and myself. And it was so strange because I don't trust people very easily. And she has me in this meditative state in my own house. And I'm thinking, what's she doing? And I would open one eye every once in a while and look to see what she was doing. And all of a sudden, I felt this pop in my side. And I went, oh. And she said, what's the matter? And I said, something popped in my side. So she said, hold on, let me look. And I opened my eyes while she said that. And it looked like she was going through like a Rolodex or a filing cabinet. And she said, oh, yes, your ribs were broken at one time. They're now healed. And I'm like, oh my God, that was like 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So we continued to talk and I asked her if she would teach me and mentor me and guide me. And she said, oh, well, I don't do what you do. And I thought, well, what do I do? And she said, well, you talk to people who have crossed over that are on the other side. And I was defiant. I was like, no, I don't. So she said, listen, I have a good friend of mine in Australia who's a very good medium. and she also mentors students. Schedule a reading with her. If the two of you connect, see if she'll mentor you. So I scheduled a reading with her. And as she was doing this reading, she was like, "Oh, um, you're intuitive." And I'm like, "No, not that I know of." And she said, "Yes, you've talked to the dead for a long time." And I'm like, "No, no, I haven't." And she asked me if I used to get teased as a child about having imaginary goats. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I did." She said, and in this lovely Australian accent, "My love, those were ghosts. Those were not goats." And things started making sense to me. And she started to mentor me. And about the third class, she said, "You know what? You don't need me. Just practice." We did this meditation for my third eye to open, and it instantly transported me back to my bedroom when I was in second or third grade. I know what I was wearing. I remember what my bedroom looked like, but I would have these horrible nightmares about an eye chasing me around.
Hmm.
And it was my third eye.
Interesting.
So once things started to click and I started thinking about other things, I mean, I always just thought I was a weird kid. I just knew things,
Hmm.
or I would have this sixth sense about something. And so I started practicing, and I would have do one-on-ones, and then, well, can my mom come? And then, then there were three people, and then there were five people, and then there were 10. And then I was doing, gallery readings. And what I realized is this whole time, and I realized this a couple years ago, once I opened up and started doing readings and trusted spirit and trusted that God was showing me my path, I haven't had one panic attack since.
That's amazing.
I feel more comfortable in my own skin than I've ever felt. I feel as if through my healing, I help other people heal. And being a Leo, I'm not a very vulnerable, open person to share things about myself. But as I share things that happen to me, it releases me and it connects me with the right people.
Hmm.
And in turn, that heals them.
Yeah.
And then we're now almost 12 years down the road. No panic attacks, no anxiety attacks. I have a ticking clock in my office just because, you know,
Right.
just as a reminder. And now I'm mentoring students to open up to their abilities and doing life coaching and helping others transition to the other side with family members when they are in the death process. Like I said, written a couple books, but it's been a quick 11 years, but it's also been very eye opening because my thought process is totally different now than what it used to be.
I can imagine. And you
Yeah.
said your husband didn't want you to go to this reading, but now
No,
how does he feel about it 11, 12 years
he's
later?
my biggest he's my biggest cheerleader.
That's awesome.
you know he goes to readings with me because I do in-home readings. If I don't know the home that I'm going to, he'll drive me and he'll walk me in, and then he'll go out and wait for about 2 hours because that's about how long it takes, and then he comes back in. When I do gallery events, he's my MC. He introduces me, make sure my microphone's working, you know make
That's
sure I'm okay. But yeah, he's seen a big change in myself, and my connection with God, with Creator, however everybody wants to look at it, is closer than it ever was.
that's good. Yeah, it's interesting
Yeah,
because even now, like I remember having nightmares growing up, but and I'm sure I've probably mentioned this on the podcast before, but I would have reoccurring dreams about a past life where I was buried alive. And I remember telling my mom, like, I don't want to go to sleep because I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And that past life was really important for me to heal and to remember in this lifetime. But people are like, okay, well, when you were little, did you have imaginary friends? Did you have blah 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 XYZ happen? And I'm like, you know what? Like I went through so much trauma and so many different things. A lot of my childhood I don't remember, But as I'm talking to people, you included, where you were talking about knowing things, there I had a brief memory of something that happened in elementary school where I completely forgot about, but my intuition kicked in and I told, because I'm a truth teller, it's part of my blessing and my curse. But I remember telling this girl
Right.
that was in my class that I was comparing her to something that I saw on TV that it wasn't exactly a compliment. And I was like, man, I forgot all about that. But like, I guess because I've always been intuitive, but even back then, like as my memories are slowly starting to come back one piece at a time, it started much earlier than I thought. So it is interesting to like connect how those things happen through your life that later you can look back on and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and what I've found in not every person that I've regressed in past life regressions, but in a lot of cases, the first thing they say to me is, I don't remember my childhood. I don't know why I don't remember my childhood.
Hmm.
And in doing research and doing regressions, what I found is a lot of kids who don't remember their childhood, they're still connected to their past life.
Hmm.
And because of that, there's a lot of trauma around them because they don't know how to respond or react as a child because they're still in that past life.
Hmm.
So a 5-year-old child who in their head is still a 30-year-old person, somebody says, put those away. I'll put them away when I want to.
Hmm.
And then there's discontent in the family.
Yeah.
So it's not always that case, but I've found it in a lot of cases that they never, not that they never, they had a difficult time disconnecting from their past life, that they never really felt like they fit in as a child because they never felt like a child.
Hmm. And that makes sense. And even like through my coaching sessions and people I've talked to on trips and stuff, a lot of people who are here for a greater purpose, starseeds, lightworkers, whatever you want to call them, a lot of them don't remember their childhood. And the being attached to your past life is an interesting concept. Are you familiar with what walk-ins are?
Walk-ins. That sounds familiar, but it's
It's
not popping in my head right this second.
Yeah, I'll probably end up doing a whole episode about this, but um, a walk-in is someone who doesn't want to go through the whole reincarnation process. I've
Oh,
seen some
yes.
that don't want to go through birth, some that don't want to go through puberty, whatever, and they walk in to a vessel, partway through the life
Yes.
and then take over the consciousness. And I've noticed that a lot of the walk-ins also don't remember anything, and this isn't always the case, but usually they don't remember anything before that moment where they walked in. And I was doing a session for a girl in Egypt who was a walk-in and didn't know it. And she was like, I don't remember anything before, this date. And she didn't want to go through puberty, I guess. And there's others who I've talked to who have had injuries, athletic injuries, car accidents, whatever. And through channeled messages and stuff, talking to spirit, they said that the car accidents and things like that are the easiest way to allow
Yeah.
for people to be understanding for like personality changes and stuff like that when a walk-in comes
Yes.
in.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's just
I agree with that.
interesting. But yeah, I've noticed a lot of people in the spiritual community don't remember their childhood for one reason or another, which has always been
Yeah.
fascinating to me. But that's my psychology, you know, personality.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a good bit of it, but there's parts that I have no recollection of. And even like I'll look at a photo and I'm thinking, who is that?
Hmm.
And one of my family members will go, that's you. And I'm like, that's me.
Oh,
Doesn't
wow.
look like me. But then it does.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see myself at that age sometimes. It's I don't know. It's very woo-woo sometimes, when I get to talking to certain people about things like that. But it's so interesting to me how the mind and the spirit and the body all work separately, but they integrate together
Yep.
so well.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how, like, when you get an upgrade or you go through um, a big growth period, how your mind, your body, and your spirit all have to integrate that information separately, and they do it in a specific order. Like the body's always the last one to catch up, unless we're talking about like
Correct.
nervous system regulation. And then it's like, okay, the body's the first one to be like, okay, there's something wrong, but to heal it, it's the body's always the last to catch up. And it's interesting how they all kind of process information differently, but then you have to go through that integration period where they all kind of like blend together and it becomes this whole new perspective or whatever. And yeah, it's very interesting how that works.
Hmm. Yeah, the mind is such a unused vehicle that we have such blinders on to certain things. And then when all of a sudden those blinders come off, we're like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
I remember thinking about that years ago. And I thought, no, you
Right.
know,
Yeah. It's capable of so much more than we give it credit for because the mind is supposed to our body is our vehicle to navigate through this lifetime. Our mind is supposed to be a tool that we use to help interpret our experiences for this lifetime. But so many people, especially, before going through a spiritual awakening or before having those blinders removed, the mind is almost like in charge and telling you how to experience and interpret your life. And it's like, no, no, no. Like you're supposed to be working for me, not the other way around. And that
correct.
alone is a huge transition to go through to kind of get your mind to work for you rather than to being your boss.
Yes. Yes. Well, a lot of us live through fear, not faith. I mean, think about it. The day you were born, you come out of this nice, warm, cushy body into this cold, bright room that somebody's hanging you upside down and whacking you.
Hmm.
Your first experience is pain,
Right.
you know? And I did a whole meditation a couple years ago about that because it was, why do we walk in such fear and we're afraid to stand in our faith? And that's kind of what I came back to. Well, from day one, we were taught fear. That was our very first lesson
Hmm.
in the human body, outside of the human body.
Right.
So
That's an interesting
it's
way to look
it's
at it too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's an interesting thought process.
Hmm. Makes sense though.
Mm. Yes. I mean, when we think about what stops us or what blocks us, if we say, but why, it'll eventually take us back to our first negative experience.
Hmm.
And that's what we were taught. And instead of going over and above what we were taught and challenging it, we were just like, well, this is the way it's going to be.
Right. But not anymore. Now we are questioning
Not
things. We are
anymore.
figuring out what's going
I
on, right?
question everything. Yes. Yes. I challenge everything and trust little human information until I get it verified.
I remember my
How
mom
does
used
that
to get so
feel?
mad because growing up, I would just be like, why? Why? Why?
Mhm.
And I don't think that that has ever stopped. The question has changed a little bit. I don't just say why, but
Mhm.
my tendency to question everything has never changed.
Mhm. Yeah.
So why
Well,
don't you tell us
until
about
we
your books?
so I have two books.
Mhm.
And I'm almost completed an Oracle deck, and I've got two other books that I'm working on. But
Awesome.
the first book that I created is called My Head Knows, but My Heart Still Hurts. And it's a 30-day grief recovery journal. And I created this a couple of years ago because most of my clients would say to me, I am so afraid I'm going to forget the stories. Or my child wasn't alive when my mother was, and she doesn't know any of the stories. And this is a way that you can remember what you had instead of being so zoned in on what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I give you prompts and I put God winks in there, which are my stories. When it might say, tell me about or write about your favorite story when you went on vacation. And you write it down, or what was the special birthday. And then there's part of it that says the firsts. So you're writing a letter to your loved one on their birthday, the first birthday that you're not together, and your first birthday that you're not together, or your anniversary, or holidays. Um, there's a section on there about self care, because when someone passes, there's so much to do that you don't really have time to grieve until after the funeral,
Right.
because the very next day you're going to the funeral home and you're planning this and you're planning this and you're fielding calls, and you don't even have time to take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you can do your own self-care by having like a gatekeeper, a good friend of yours. Can you come over and just take care of the phone calls while I go and I take a shower and get something to eat?
Mm-hmm.
Can you answer the doorbell? And whatever that is. And it talks about pre-talks. Like, my kids get annoyed with me sometimes because I tell them what I want when I pass and where everything is. And they're like, oh my, why do we have to talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I need you to know that when something happens to me, papers are here. Um, I want you to, make sure this person knows. And here's some songs. And, I want you to put it together the way that you want to. But here's kind of what I'm looking at,
Mm-hmm.
because I want them to be comfortable with the death process, because just because the body dies doesn't mean the spirit does.
Right.
And I'm still a part of them, you
That's
know?
awesome. I know
So that's what the book goes.
it's a very
Sorry.
uncomfortable conversation. No, you're fine. It's a very uncomfortable conversation. Like, my dad won't even really talk about it. My mom hasn't really brought it up, except for her mother had dementia, and she makes jokes about when she loses her mind, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, you're not going to, like, it's fine. But my dad's just like, I don't want a funeral, like I don't want a viewing. Just put me in the ground. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay. And that's about the extent of it. And I'm like, okay, I have a book. It's entitled I'm Dead. Now what? And like has all the
now what?
instruction. Right. I don't
It,
have
yep.
kids or
I do.
anything, but like it has all the instructions of everything that I need to be taken care of, and like what
Right.
goes to who and stuff like that, because it is a lot to deal with, especially if you have, a ton of assets or a bunch of kids who are gonna, like, you don't want them to argue about stuff, and just making the arrangements and everything. Like, I've already got it planned that I'm gonna be cremated, I'm gonna be buried as a weeping willow tree. Put me wherever, I don't care. Like, it's all planned out. Like, nobody has to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is such a blessing to give to the people that are around you.
Hmm.
And even with my clients, when they come in and after I do the reading, I will say to them, are there any questions that you have or anything that I didn't answer for you? And most of them will say, were they happy with the funeral that we planned for them? Did
Really.
they,
Hmm.
did I do it right? Um, what a burden that is to have on your mind.
Right.
And when I tell my clients is, your loved one who passed knows that you did exactly what you thought that they would want.
Hmm.
If they didn't come through and say, why didn't you put lipstick on me when you laid me out? Then everything was fine, you know?
Right.
Um, but it's a lot to comprehend and go through. When my mom had passed, I had gone through the loss of my father-in-law and went to the funeral home but I did that more as an observer, just to be there to be the backup for everybody. I remember sitting at the funeral home and I'm taking notes. And the funeral director was like, you don't have to write everything down. I'm like, no, I have to write this down. This is how I'll remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just something to keep me busy. Now, he passed before I knew that I had what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And even my mom passed before I knew I had this ability. But when I went to the funeral home and they're asking all these questions, and I'm like, good God, my mom just passed 8 hours ago.
Right.
I just need to breathe for a minute. And
Mm-hmm.
you're asking me, what kind of flowers do you want? And what do you want? What do you want the papers to say? And how do you want the obituary to read? And how do you want? I'm like, what date do you? I don't know. But
It's
if
a
you have
lot.
these pre-talks,
Mm-hmm.
then it gives whoever is still left on this earth a moment to breathe and say, everything's already planned. Here's the paperwork. What do I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's amazing. That book sounds like it would be extremely helpful for a lot of people. That's amazing.
I've had a lot of people who will buy it as gifts for their friends who lose someone
Mm-hmm.
because, let's face it, it always says in lieu of flowers, send donations to the Humane Society or to the hospice or to, and it's wonderful that people do those donations. But then after the funeral, you go home to what? So if you can pick up a book or think about a story, it helps you to smile.
Yeah, for sure.
And I got the title from one of my friends who lost her son. And we had this conversation. And she goes, you don't understand. Like, my head understands that he's gone, but my heart doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use that as my title.
Wow.
And it's for 30 days. Every day there's a prompt. You don't have to do it for 30 days, but every day there's a prompt to write a story. And at the end, you have a memoir that you can give to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other book that I have written is My Crystal Addiction Diary. It's for the stone collector and the gem collector who buys stones because they think they're cool and pretty, and then they forget what they are and what they're used for. And can I put this in moon water? And what chakra does this go to? But you just fill the paperwork out. I bought a lapis in January. I bought it because it's for the dreamer. 30 days after I got it, I realized I'm sleeping better or I'm able to, manifest better. I can use it in the moon water. However, it pairs better with such and such. And so it's just an ongoing inventory of the stones that you have.
That's cool.
And, I'm this stone freak that I'll write down a stone that I want. And then I think, gosh, I forget why I wanted that. And I have to look it up again. Well, in the book, I can say on my wish list, I want a lapidolite because I read this. And then when I get it, I can just check it off the list.
Right.
So I have both of those books. And like I said, I'm working on a couple others and an oracle deck and got a couple other books in my head that I want to put together, but I have to get these other things done first.
It's a lot. It's so easy to like. I just finished my first book. I haven't released it yet. I still have a couple final edits and stuff. I just finished the cover work today, and it's so like enthralling. Like I remember when I first started writing, and I'm like, man, how am I ever going to write a whole book? Like I don't even have the attention span to like have a conversation on the phone. How am I going to write this book? And it actually, once I got started, it started to flow naturally and it was so much fun and I'm probably going to end up doing more. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of like potato chips. You can't have just one
Right.
because the story goes on,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? Um, I do on my live on Connecting to Spirit Facebook. I do a Tuesday talks at 10:30 every Tuesday. I've done it for like 4 years. And I talk about um, mindfulness and grief and spiritual empowerment and walking into your own power and using your voice. And the more I write this, I'm like, oh my gosh, Like this is how you find yourself your way back home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was going to call it, was finding your way back home. But then I thought, well, that sounds like a self-help book.
Right.
And the more I thought about it, I was on oh gosh, what's it called? The Women's Spirit Collective Festival, which is a online women's festival with, there was like 100 speakers. And the one title of one of the talks that I did was, I spoke to a medium for a year one night. And I talked about how before I met this medium and how my life has changed. And I'm like, this is exactly what this book is. Because I talked to this one medium, here's how the course of my life changed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm bringing to you now. So I'm thinking that's what the name of the book is going to be now. It's kind of kitschy.
Yeah, it's cute. Awesome. So after all of these life changes and all of the periods of growth and enlightenment and realizations and getting closer to spirit and being more in alignment, after all of this that you've accomplished so far, what is one piece of advice that you could give to the collective?
I feel like a good piece of advice is to trust your intuition, to
Mm-hmm.
know that you are worthy of what the universe has to offer you, and to invite it in and trust it and learn from that.
Well said.
Many of my students, and I just had one of my mentor students last night, and I, was asking her, so how's it going? And, with the different exercises and things. And she goes, I'm really fighting with imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know what that means, but I said, explain that to me. And she just kind of looked at me. She goes, why me? Like, why am I so special? I don't feel like, out of all the millions of people in the world, why do I have this ability?
Mm-hmm.
And as we were talking and she was telling me this, I said, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of healers feel that way.
Absolutely,
But
100%.
here's the thing. I said, do you feel like you are worthy of having your children? And she looked at me and she goes, well, I said, no, do you feel like you were worthy of birthing these children? And she said, well, I had the ability. And, she's like stumbling around. I
Mm-hmm.
said, yeah, you had the ability and you birthed children. So you have an ability that you are birthing. When you were raising your children, did you do every single thing right? No. Did you learn from that? Yeah. I said, that's intuition. This is a part of yourself that you put on hold that's now bubbling up, that's giving birth, and you're growing with it. And you will learn through it. We all have some type of ability. It's where, and you've probably heard this a million times, where your mind goes, energy flows.
Yep.
So if you are so caught up in, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, you're going to hit all these roadblocks. But if you say, I am learning to do the best that I can through the guidance of spirit, all of a sudden that roadblock opens up
Mm-hmm.
because you're inviting it in. It's trusting yourself, which is hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
you know. And my husband always laughs because when I talk about this, I always use Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen as an example.
Mm-hmm.
When Eddie and Alex were young, Eddie was on the drums and Alex played the guitar. And then one day, Eddie picked the guitar up, tore it apart, put it back together, and never dropped it. And was an amazing guitar player
Mm-hmm.
because everywhere he went, that guitar was with him. And Alex sat behind the drums and started messing with it. And they had the right instruments, they were just with the wrong people.
Right.
So their ability grew because their passion and their love for this instrument grew. That's what spirit is.
Mm-hmm.
It's an instrument within us that if we educate it and we practice with it and we trust it, it'll grow.
Absolutely.
And if we do something wrong, or we get a no, it's not a no, it's just a not yet.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how, like you mentioned, the imposter syndrome. A lot, like I'm a healer, and I know that I went through a period of that too. And but being human and going through the human experience and experiencing trauma and experiencing, especially as a woman, and the things that we're and I'm sure I've heard guys say the same thing, it's just different, which totally valid.
Yeah.
But the pressures that society puts on us and stuff, and just making us feel like we're not worthy of things is going to affect everything for the rest of your life, the stuff that you have to heal, which in itself will help get rid of that imposter syndrome. Because you're right, it is your intuition, it is your ability, it's inherent in all of us. It just looks different in all of us, because how boring would it be if we all did the same thing, right? But it's all connected
Correct.
to spirit. So it's not,
Yes.
the question isn't why me, it's why not me. Everyone else is too.
Correct.
It's all of us.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And you can dial back and think about all the things that you did that were wrong and all the trauma that you had, and you're damaged and you're broken and this and this and this. Well, spirit uses that.
Yep.
I've talked to mediums all over, and all that I've spoken to have some type of damage in their background.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think that is? So that they can help people on a one-to-one basis.
Absolutely. Same thing with healers. We've
You
been
know,
through a lot because we had to heal it in
you
ourselves
can,
before we can help heal other people.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you can empathize with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can say, you're not alone.
Yep.
You know,
And
when I first started doing readings, I had a lot of people come to me whose loved one had committed suicide. And suicide had directly affected me through a couple people that I knew.
mm-hmm.
And it was a very touchy subject for me. So when suicides would come through, they spirit comes through on my right, angels come through on my left. That's just how I navigate it.
Mm-hmm.
But if a suicide would come through, they would come around behind me, almost like asking for permission if they could come through, because of who I was and my emotions.
Right.
And then after I did, oh gosh, I don't know, 15 or 20 of them, and figured out how to navigate what to say, you would understand someone who decided to take themselves out of this life before their time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, you're connected to someone who committed suicide. There's a right way and a wrong way to say things.
Right. Right.
And then after I did several of them, a close friend of mine decided to take himself out of this world. And he had this very boisterous laugh. And he was just a card. He was just an absolute card.
Mm.
And after he passed, when suicides would come through, I would hear his laughter, and I would know my friend is bringing this person in. So I was more comfortable
Right.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, spirit gives us what we need when we need it. And I needed a host, kind of, that
Mm-hmm.
would make me laugh, that I would be like, oh, okay, I
Yep.
get it. I got it.
And
You
that's the
know,
thing. Like, people are so scared of the unknown, and so like, okay, I have this ability, I have this gift, but like it's something new. So it's like, well, what's that going to look like? And especially with dealing with the unknown and like the afterlife and spirit and stuff, because there is so much of that that we're not aware of. It's like spirit, like everything on the other side is love, like it comes from love. So even like you just said, when you have an experience that could be perceived as scary or uncomfortable, they make it happen in a way where you are comfortable.
yes.
Not only do they give
Yeah.
you what you need when you need it, but they give it to you how you need it as well.
Oh, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And when you set your protection up, you're protected.
Hmm.
I mean, I live in an 8,000 square foot school that we have a shop upstairs. And when my husband leaves for the weekend, he's always like, I don't want to leave you alone here because there's too many. We've been broken into before. Let's just say it that way.
Okay.
And I just look at him and I'm like, I'm protected. I'm protected. I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. I'm not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So don't put that into existence. Know that I am protected. I will know if something's going down.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
And
just know.
that's funny because when I told my mom that I was going to Egypt, and she was like, "Is that safe? Is it, because this was a few months ago when they were still having like
Mm,
fighting over there." And
mhm.
I was like, how do you explain to someone that, like, I'm divinely guided and protected. I'm here for a reason. Nothing bad is going to happen to me. This trip is a spiritual journey that I'm being called to go on. How do you, it's hard to explain that to someone and have them be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, and just surrender to that. But it's like, I know that nothing bad is going to happen. And
Right.
if something bad
Right.
is happening in the area, I'll be nudged in the right direction to stay away from it. Like everything is going to be fine.
Right. And if it's my time, then nothing will change that course.
Right. It wouldn't matter where I'm at.
Yeah. I could be, sitting in your home
Hmm.
and something happens. Freak accidents happen. Like just the other day, that helicopter landing on that car or airplane, I think it was landed on that car.
Oh my
It
goodness.
wasn't their time. Both the helicopter or the airplane pilot and guest survived, and so did the person that was in the car.
Oh my
It
goodness.
wasn't their time. It
Wow.
was, and if you look at the film of that, because somebody behind them had a dash cam,
Hmm.
there's no way that woman should have survived in that car. You know, there's no way.
I might have to look that up. That's
It
interesting.
wasn't her time.
I did not hear about that. Oh,
I
wow.
think I think it was in Florida, 195, if I remember correctly. It was just like last week,
Wow. Okay.
you know. But um, when I explain to others how I know that I'm protected, I'm going to tell you a little story of how I know I'm protected.
Okay.
So before my clients come in for a reading, I meditate on their name, even if it's just their first name. I call in my archangels. I call in spirit. I call in God for guidance. And I'm meditating on their name, which basically means I'm saying their name over and over and over again. And I'm calling their guides in and my guides in so that I can pull a medicine card on them that tells me where they're at right now, what's going on in their life. And a couple years ago, I was sitting in the room that I do my reading in, and I'm meditating. And in my third eye, I saw this rectangle in my third eye of this grayish storm, like in the ocean, and the waves were crashing, and it was just this storm. And I thought, well, that's new. Okay, maybe this person is in the Navy. And then I saw these dark eyes, still like someone had done charcoal pencil. These dark eyes were coming through and looking at this through this rectangle. And I felt my chair being kind of pushed back, like I was being pushed away from it. And instinctively, I said, okay, Archangel Michael, I don't know what this is, but I feel like it's a warning. So I'm going to ask you to do two things for me. If I'm not supposed to do this reading for this person for whatever reason, I want you to do two things. I want you to give me a sign that I cannot miss, and I want you to not have them show up. And I no sooner said that than my office is connected to the room that I do the reading. And I had a candle lit in my office. The candle exploded.
Oh, geez. That's a big signy
And I
sign.
went, right? I went over and I'm cleaning it up and I'm thinking, well, that's a little dramatic. But I did ask for a sign that I couldn't miss.
Right.
So I'm putting the candle out and I'm picking up the glass and I'm thinking, I should probably tell my husband about this. So I go over to our apartment and I said, listen, here's what happened. And he goes, well, I'm standing outside. They're not getting in. I'm like, no, 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 no. I told Archangel Michael two things: the candle, well, a sign, and for them not to show up. I feel like they're not going to show, but I also felt like I should just tell you in the event that they did, check on me in about an hour just to make sure that everything's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say their appointment was at 6 o'clock. And normally people come 5 to 10 minutes early. If you're not here by quarter after, unless you've gotten in touch with me, your reading's over because I have another reading back to back with it.
Right.
5 after 6, no person. 10 after 6, no person. Quarter after 6, no person. So I'm like, all right. And I just sent them a text. We had a reading tonight. Unfortunately, you've missed the reading. Have a good holiday or whatever. Because it was around Thanksgiving. So I said, like, I'm protected. See, I'm protected.
Mm-hmm.
And like a week later, I get this voicemail from this person that said, "Oh, we have this reading tonight, but Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Is there any way we can change it?" And it was a voicemail. And I'm like, oh, she had it for the week after she had written it down wrong.
Oh, wow.
So I called her back, and the whole time I'm calling, I'm thinking, don't answer, don't answer, don't answer, don't answer, don't answer. I
Mm-hmm.
get voicemail. "Hey, this is Stacey. We actually had an appointment last week. You missed your appointment. And unfortunately, I'm booked solid until next year. And I'm really sensing that maybe I'm not the medium for you. So if you are looking, I can refer someone else to you. I hope you have a great holiday. Thank you very much."
Mm-hmm.
Haven't heard from her since.
Everything
So
happens for a
I
reason,
don't
man.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she had weird juju. I don't know if I wasn't prepared, because this was a couple years ago. If I wasn't prepared for what might come through,
Mm-hmm.
but it just felt like they were pushing me away.
Yeah.
And there's other validations and other things that have happened to me that shows me that I'm protected.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh. But yeah, it was very dramatic when the candle exploded. And that's
I
exactly
bet.
what I thought. Well, that was a little dramatic.
It's funny because when
But
I
I
first
said, give
started
me a sign I
asking,
can't miss.
when I first started asking for signs, I would be like, all right, because I had like ADHD brain and I'm working in a busy casino and I'm like, all right, guys, like I'm still not at that point yet where I can quiet my mind and be completely open to signs and synchronicities. Like I'm at the very beginning of this journey. Give me sign that I'm not gonna miss. Like elbow me in the ribs, strike me with lightning, something, like give me something. And I will tell you that I never had a candle explode or anything quite that dramatic. Um, so that's awesome that they actually gave you what you asked for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always put that little, like the fine print. And
Mm.
if I miss the sign, can you give it to me again
Right.
so that I don't miss it?
Yeah.
And they do, you know? And
Awesome.
if I do miss it and later something happens, I'm like, ah, shoot.
Yeah.
I saw that and I ignored it.
Yep. It
All
happens
right.
though.
So
But it
it's
gets easier.
trusting.
Hmm.
Yeah. But it's trusting that you're protected. It's trusting that you're on the path that they're leading you on.
Hmm.
And if you make a mistake, you know what? You'll learn from it and you won't do it again.
It's part of being human.
So, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We're a spiritual being living a human experience, and
Right.
humans are not perfect.
Correct. We're not supposed to be.
Mm-mm.
Awesome. So do you have any upcoming speaking engagements, any stuff coming up that you want to share, or if you just want to give us your website and maybe tell us about your Facebook group, that would be awesome.
Sure. So I have several events that are coming up that are going to be in the Pennsylvania, Maryland area. Some galleries. Um, whether it's in Chambersburg or Bel Air, Maryland, Mercersburg, Pennsylvania. So, I mean, if you're in that area, you can always go to my website, which is connecting to spirit with Stacey .com, and go under events. That's also where you book private readings with me, whether in person or via Zoom. That's generally the best place to find me. You can Google my name. There's a lot of information out there on me. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm pretty easy to find. Um, I do on my Facebook, which is also Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. I do Tuesday talks at 10:30 every Tuesday, and we just talk about different items, whether it's empowerment or speaking your voice or talking about the loss of a loved one and how to kind of navigate that, or your loved one's transitioning and what that looks like and what does that mean. I talk about all those different things that maybe you're not comfortable in talking to, your best friend about because they think, oh my gosh, this what she's gone off her rocker. But it's that spiritual experience that I just want people to know that they're not crazy.
Hmm.
Um, when they're hearing things or seeing things, I don't ever want people to think that I'm gifted. I have an ability that I work on,
Hmm.
that I'm passionate about, and we all have different abilities. Um, and the more you work on it, the better you get at it. Whether you are a medium or just a good listener or a great guitar player, but your vibration and your passion grows through that.
Absolutely. Well,
So um, I like to help people heal through whatever is going on that pushes them down and makes them think I'm not good enough
mhm.
or I'm not needed, to let them know there's a reason that you're here. And
Awesome.
we love you, and
Mhm.
let's help you heal and figure out what your path is.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it. This has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And maybe we can discuss having you come back on again.
Oh, I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Well, thank you again and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Well, thank you, Heather. I appreciate you having me on here. And, I can talk about spirit all night long. I love delving down and listening to what other people think and have experienced as well.
Yeah,
Um, and I feel like just about everybody in the world, if they really, really think about it, they've experienced something where they thought, somebody was watching over me.
absolutely. Thanks for being here today with me. I'm really excited to share that I'm leading a pilgrimage to Egypt in September 2026. We'll be visiting some of the most powerful sacred sites on the planet, doing activation work, and connecting with the ancient wisdom that's held in those spaces. If that's calling to you, all the details are in the show notes. And if you're seeing repeated numbers everywhere and wondering what the universe is trying to tell you, I made a free angel numbers guide. You can grab that at www.divineascensionco.com/angel-numbers. I'd love to stay connected with you, so feel free to reach out through any of the links in the description. I'll see you in the next episode, and until then, trust what you know.